Welcome to the Danny Clinkscale Reasonably Irreverent podcast. Insightful and witty commentary, probing interviews, and detours from the beaten path.
Every once in a while, we have to bring out the big dog.
Yeah.
Oh, God help us. It's time for Danny Unleashed. Sponsored by Easton Roofing, where integrity matters. Go to eastonroofing.com for more.
What you find out at Easton Roofing, where integrity matters, is that they're an Angie's List Super Service Award winner. 4 straight years voted Best of Houses Award winner. Check out their Google reviews. See how satisfied their customers are with a project manager on every site. Happy to do repairs, residential and commercial roofing. Their commercial business growing and growing and growing, as they are one of the fastest growing companies in Kansas City. Locally owned and operated. No payment is collected until you're 100% satisfied. Credit cards, PayPal, check. Need to finance. These are difficult times, but nothing is more essential than putting a roof over your family's heads. They can help you finance your roof. Let them give you a free estimate, a free inspection. If you think, it's been a while on this roof, but I'm not sure, call Easton Roofing. They'll be happy to give you a free inspection, and if necessary, on any repairs or a new roof, a free estimate. As I mentioned, one of the fastest growing companies in Kansas City. They are hiring. Generous sign-on bonus for qualified candidates, additional bonus for veterans, paid training for those with little or no experience. You get great benefits like profit sharing, health insurance, 401k match, company vehicle, tools, guaranteed year-round work. Joe Spiker and his team at Easton Roofing are hiring. You can call 913-257-5426. Find them online at Easton Roofing. Danny, my friend, how are you?
I'm fine. Hello to Joe. I think he's on his way. Joe Spiker, I think he's on his way to the lake right now. So if he is tuned in, hello, Joe. Have a wonderful 4th of July weekend, and everybody have a wonderful 4th of July weekend. To answer your question, Soren, if I was truly going to be unleashed right now, I'd probably have some really not so great and nice things to say, but instead I'm going to take the high road and say, let's do better moving forward. Because let's face it, as a nation, we crapped the bed in June.
Yeah, you're not going to get any argument from me. A buddy of mine does a late night happy hour. I was on a show last night at late. It's late because it's Vegas. And he opened the show that way. that was his whole spiel. And you can imagine, like in Las Vegas, where they're all service industry, that's the whole economy basically is service industry.
Right. And
then building things for the service industry. He honestly, he was literally in tears last night.
Well, I'm not going to – everybody knows what I'm probably going to say in some way, shape, or form, so I'm not going to go on at length, but – I just think one thing that we continue to hear is, well, we're just going to have to live with the virus. And yes, it's not going away. If that's the way you mean it, fine. But if what you mean is, I'm just going to go about my business as normal, and we're just going to have to deal with the consequences. Well, I don't want to deal with the consequences. I don't want to live in a world with empty stadiums and where I can't go see a band and where I can't go see a show and I can't go to the movies. If that's what you want, have at it. I don't want that, and just a common courtesy, which is basically an exaggerated equivalent of covering your mouth when you cough, people can't handle by putting a mask on? I mean, come on.
You don't have to do it all day.
Yeah, in your
just when you go into a public place.
In your average day, unless you're, a really, really busy, and I do most of the if not all the errands in the house. First of all, my wife didn't want to put herself in those situations, and then she broke her ankle. And I think I have a mask on no more than a half an hour a day.
Yeah. 10 to 30 minutes would be what the average person would use.
So just do a little better. And the last part of it, if you don't care about anything else, just think about the frontline healthcare workers who are starting to get a bit of a reprieve, and now they're back in a spit show again, and it doesn't look like it's going to get a lot better.
I think you know what I'll say. I don't know how much I think he said a little bit about it, but I'm going to say a little bit more, and then we'll move on. But I do listen. I do want to say this. I'm not the politics guy. I'm not the, and I know I've had some things to say about Black Lives Matter. But I will tell you that the only reason I've had anything to say about these things is because I think they're important, and I think they're without debate. Okay, and they're about human life. When it comes to taking care of our fellow human beings and the Black Lives Matter movement and then wearing a mask, it's not politics. It's just caring about one another. And I'm going to tell you, my heart breaks for the Bucati family. You know, Nate's wife is working 12-hour shifts day after day after day after day, and he's got a young family. They've got 3 kids. One of them's an infant. Okay, my heart breaks for the Summers family. You know, Shane Summers, and his wife works at a hospital, and she is going in there, and she's got young children, 2 young kids. I mean, that is, you know, just to flippantly be like, oh, well, if I get it, I get it. You know, it's infecting others that then end up in the hospital, or you yourself ending up in the hospital and forcing those people to put themselves in harm's way when they have children depending on them. You literally don't tell me you care about kids or human life if you're thumbing your nose at wearing a mask.
And the refrain of, if you don't want to get sick, just stay at home, stop it.
Well, I mean, listen, I will actually second that, right? I'll second that. Yes, if you don't, I mean, staying at home is one of the things they're asking us. But it has nothing to do with us asking you and the country asking you to wear a mask. Nothing.
Right.
Nothing.
And even if you're just plain, want us to stick to sports, well, we're not going to get back.
I can't.
But also, we
Exactly.
are not going to get back to what we like about sports if we don't do better. I mean, if you're cool with never going to a game again, I am growing by the day less confident that they're going to pull some of this stuff off.
I agree.
I mean, the tests are, on the Sports Center, brilliantly done, by the way.
Well done, Rushmore.
25 tests out of, 25 positives out of 350. That's about 7%. I mean, that's not good.
Yeah.
And if you got 7% and growing, you're just not going to be able to field teams and have legitimate competitions. Period.
Currently, 20% of those being tested in Houston are positive, according to ABC News today. 20%.
By the way, if 7% of the population is infected, that puts us at 27 million.
Right, I know. And we're 9% of the world's population. We've got 26% of the deaths. Good job.
Listen, I will say this. The positive has been that the deaths are going down. I've had some people send me some things. Oh, it's funny how the narrative changed from deaths to cases. There's no doubt great progress has been made, by the way, by the healthcare workers that you're forcing to work overtime as they are learning about this brand new virus and getting better at treating it. And we've gotten more tests. We've gotten the testing up and running, but you can't trace it if, 50 people are in a spot. I mean, like it goes to so many different directions. I don't want to bog down on this, but it is just common sense. And it is just the basic the minimalist approach of caring about human life.
Think of how much the death rate would be falling if the cases weren't going up.
Oh, and by the way, the deaths are going to start going up. Right? I didn't finish that thought.
Yeah.
So, yes, the deaths have been going down. And while the cases are going up, the cases just started going up. They were lagging about a week behind. As cases go up, deaths would be about a week behind it.
Right.
They're now lagging about 3 to 5 weeks behind. And so you're going to see the death toll start rising. And the hospitals are filling up, okay? And that's what it was about. And listen, I basically never come off the stay-at-home order, right? I literally just don't go anywhere, and I'm not saying everybody has to go about it that way. but you're going to be told that your business is going to be shut down.
Well,
your job is going to be shut down. Your sports is going to be shut down. It's coming. And I honestly, as I look at it right now, I think I'm with you. I think it's inevitable. I think we've already missed the opportunity to avoid that. I think we're headed towards another shutdown. I think they're going to wait even longer to do it because they don't want to do it, which is going to make the length of time we're shut down even longer this time.
Well, we were given one up. That's why I just said I'll leave it at this. Let's just try to do better because we were given a chance. We opened things up. We said, here you go. See if you can act responsibly. And still, instead, you acted like a teenager who got taken off being grounded on the first night he stayed out till 5 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
So let's just do better, and then we can have a better life now, I'm hoping, maybe by the start of the new year. And, sometimes when I'm listening to this talk about Chris Jones' contract and this and that, I'm like, will any of this matter? I mean, is this going to matter? I mean,
well, let's talk about that. Isn't that another reason not to offer him the contract? Because you're offering him the contract to bring his number down this year, knowing you're going to pay dire consequences against the cap in years to come, and yet there's no guarantee that you're going to get to pick the fruit of this year. So to me, like when you hear these reports, there's been no dialogue. If I'm the Kansas City Chiefs and Brett Veach, I mean, I wouldn't just not answer the phone, but I would call them and say there is no offer on a multi-year deal. It's 16-1 to play with us. We're not going to cut you. And if you want to sit, that's fine. I'll let you know you're screwing your team because we're going to have no wiggle room to add anybody to the equation. But in a COVID environment, and I'm sorry it sucks to be you that your free agent year came up, but it sucks to be us to be defending Super Bowl champions, have 20 to 22 starters back, and have the virus here to where we might not be able to finish the season. So we're not doing any bragging about the COVID either, but we are not even making a multi-year offer to you. You play for 16-1 or sit. We don't care. It's your choice. That's what I'd do if I was Brett Veach.
I can't disagree with basically any word that was spoken right there. I don't know why you would enter that with so much uncertainty in the near future.
And it's not even him. It's the fact that 15 needs a contract as well. And to me, it's the easiest. Listen, Chris Jones and his agents ought to be thanking the Chiefs because if I were Brett Veach, I'd be holding press conferences telling this. We'd be having a Zoom, and I would lay all this out for the media so they knew it, so they could go preach it. Because I still hear these debates about, no, he's not going to hold out. Really, first of all, I don't even care if he does. I think he is going to, but that's fine. We can have a disagreement of opinion. But who cares if he does if they're going to shut the season down and you're going to tank your team for the next 2 years by burying it under the salary cap? Why would you bother to do it in a totally open area? So I would come put pressure on Chris Jones, and if I were Brett Veach, I'd be calling every radio station out there going, hey, by the way, let me explain to you how this works, and doing every interview, every print interview, get TV cameras around, socially distanced, and lay it out there. This is why we're doing this, and we hope Chris Jones will take the $16.1 million, which is millions more than most Americans have right now, and that he plays football for us, and then we will try to do it again next year, assuming we've got a better situation. I don't know how anybody could be on Chris Jones' side on this if you're actually a freaking Chiefs fan.
I don't understand either, and just think of the fact that if we don't have a season or a full season, not only are there no gate receipts, which they're not going to get. I mean, I think that ship has long sailed. Even forget about December, January, whatever. Forget it. Nobody's in any numbers. Maybe they'll let some healthcare workers in and make some, that's what they're talking about doing at the U.S. Open tennis tournament is letting first responders and frontline medical people in as fans, a smattering of them. That's about all you're going to get, even if they are really nice about things like that. But what about the TV money? They're going to have to give TV money back if there's not content. And that's where it's really going to kill them. And then your salary cap's going to be pennies on the dollar next year.
Yeah. Or we're going to be talking about, I don't know why players aren't out campaigning for people to wear masks, right? Because you want to know how much money they're going to lose, if there is no TV. Why aren't they? Because to me, they're like, well, okay, the numbers are up, so we won't have any fans. No. If they tell everyone to stay at home and it's essential businesses only, you're not playing. Like, I don't know, did you not see it? The NBA was shut down. The NCAA tournament was shut down. They were deemed not essential, and they didn't play. So I don't know why every Major League Baseball player, NBA, NFL, NHL, any MLS, I don't know why they're not all out there running campaigns saying, please wear a mask so we can play ball.
It'd be a great campaign. They've probably done it in some markets or whatever, but it should be widespread.
Nick Saban did it.
And it's, we know it's not the end-all and be-all. We just said it's just the bottom line common courtesy. Just think of it as even if you think it's bad science, it certainly can't hurt, and it's a common courtesy. And it just, for people to make it some kind of a badge of honor, I can just see tomorrow, it's Independence Day, independence from wearing a mask. You think that sign's not going to be raised 50 places?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I do.
Celebrating my independence. No mask, shooting fireworks off. Woo!
All right, let's move on
I'll
to Chris
stop you when I
Jones.
think you're veering off course, Danny.
Yeah. Let's move on to Chris Jones. Do you think that's where the Chiefs are, that they're not offering, that Brett Veach has landed on, that there is no reason to offer this guy a contract?
I hope so, but a lot of times it just seems like in these situations the teams can't help themselves. And Chris Jones has a lot of things going for him from the standpoint that, I can see these panel shows. Now, you had somebody who at least gave some statistical information that provides a little balance about, the defense's performance when Chris Jones is on the field and off the field. But I'm watching ESPN and people are saying, he's the second most valuable player on the team. I'm thinking to myself, I think Frank Clark's a better player, all right? Frank Clark's a $20 million player. I think Chris Jones is a lesser player. I do.
Well, just full disclosure, I don't think Frank Clark's a $20 million player. I don't know that a 20.
Well,
I don't know that a 20.
He is a $20 million player. Whether he,
yeah, I mean, he's getting paid $20 million.
Right.
Yeah, but I don't know that there's a guy on defense that's worth $20 million and a $200 million cap.
Right.
But Frank Clark's already been given that contract, and I do get the idea of what they did last year. I mean, you're going to have to pay the check on it. That they said this is the last piece to us winning a championship, and I think he is significantly better than D Ford, and so on that standpoint, they overpaid to put the last piece of the puzzle on the board, and I'm okay with it, and I'll always be okay with it. But now here moving forward, you're not talking down. We haven't won a playoff game since this time. We haven't won a home playoff game since this time. We haven't won a Super Bowl in 50 years. That is all now done. It's now time to operate and putting yourself in the best chance to win as many Super Bowls as you can over the next 12 years. It is not ever about this year. 15 with a well-thought-out salary cap makes you a contender every year. The key is to keep setting yourself up to have the freedom to add pieces each year, right, in a responsible manner to try to make the team a little bit better each year. You don't have to go blow up the next 3 years in an effort to win a Super Bowl. You've got that trophy, and that's why, you've got to graduate from the Frank Clark deals. You don't need any more Frank Clark deals. Frank Clark is a really good football player, and he puts more pressure on the quarterback because he comes from the edge, and frankly, that's more important. All the data guys will tell you that. And Bill Barnwell, said it, and we'll play that again here in a second. And Jed, let's just drop it. Go ahead and play it right now. Here's what Danny was referencing that Bill Barnwell said on ESPN last night with Scott Van Pelt, and then we'll just pull it down when Van Pelt starts talking, because I wanted to talk about how he said, hey, I can find another D tackle. We're not going to hear this part, but he says, I can find another D tackle. I got to get Patrick Mahomes signed. We're going to leave that part off, but here is Barnwell talking about what Chris Jones' real value is to the defense.
It's tough because this is a guy who I thought was the Super Bowl MVP. He was that impactful in that second half comeback. For Chris Jones, you look at the numbers, he does not actually stand out as a really significant defender. Look at the Chiefs defense when Chris Jones is on the field and Chris Jones is off the field. They have a better sack rate and a better pressure rate when Chris Jones is off the field, which doesn't really seem to make a lot of sense. No. Look at the running game. They average 5.3 yards per carry allowed when Chris Jones is on the football field. 4.3 yards per carry allowed when he's off the field. Teams do target him in the running game because he's someone who tries to get pressure at the quarterback, even if it means maybe losing a gap responsibility here or there. I think Chris Jones is a very talented football player. I think he can be a difference maker. But when you have Mahomes, when you have Tyreek Hill, when you have all these players who want significant sums of money, can you really afford to pay Chris Jones $20 million a year? I don't think the Chiefs can.
I mean, when you hear those stats, and I think there's some things where you can say, well, here's why those numbers are, but there's no way you can spin those stats into being like, this is why we have to break the bank and do whatever it takes and cut whoever we've got to cut down the road to get Chris Jones. That's lunacy.
I totally agree, and I don't understand when I see somebody just sit there and just plainly say, I say sign him long term. It's just, okay, fine. I mean, well, I guess it's the environment we live in now. You just say things because you want them to occur, and you don't dig deep enough to realize that there are consequences to doing things like that. You have Patrick Mahomes, one defensive player, an interior defensive lineman, is not important enough to pay that kind of money. And on top of that, especially in this environment, it's unseemly. Just think of tomorrow you picked up the paper, looked online, and you won $16.1 million in the lottery. I mean, you're not going to go, darn, where's the 20 mil? I mean, come on.
I really, it really upsets me when players talk about it being an insult to have the franchise tag put on them.
On top of everything else, you collectively bargained it.
Right. They were part of a union that said, this is how we're going to do it. Like, keep those comments to yourself and go bitch at DeMaurice Smith. Go bitch at your union rep on the team. Look in the mirror that you didn't say, hell no, we're not signing this. You agreed to this.
You agreed
you don't
to
get to go. Yeah. You don't get to go and say, oh, this is ridiculous, right? That's not an option.
And I understand in the basic form what a player like Chris Jones is thinking. Hey, I play this year for this. I get $16.1 million now. I sign a long-term contract. Right now I get 40, okay, or give or take. That's the guaranteed money he would want. So, okay, I get it. But let's just be real. Let's consider the circumstances of the day. Let's consider the money that Le'Veon Bell lost, and you're taking advice from him. And on top of everything else, like I said at the outset, it seemingly is becoming more irrelevant by the day because it seems to me more and more likely that we're going to not play, or at least play a full season, or not play a legitimate season. Teams with 20 guys missing, playing another team with 13 guys missing that week. I mean, what's that?
Listen, and by the way, I'll take that. I will. I absolutely will take that. I am now begging for that because I think that's way better than what I think reality is going to be. And not that more are going to be sick, just that they're not even going to try to do it. They're going to be like, that's too many. I mean, think about this. And I heard it, the Border Patrol was talking, and I was, always enjoy. I think it was always a Chidilla segment. I never miss Chidilla segments. And they were talking about, the season and kind of like we are, is it going to happen? And I don't know if it's Nate or if it's Jeff, but or Steven, I can't remember. One of them said, you remember when this all started? One guy tested positive, and that they shut everything down. And now we're like, 7 guys. 7 guys have it. 20. What are we at down at? We're at, is it 37?
37
at Clemson.
Yeah.
And we're pressing on.
Yeah,
we're pressing on.
Practice tomorrow, fellas.
Yeah,
the rest
of you see you on the field. Listen, I'm not gonna judge. I really don't even have a problem with them continuing to play because doctors are continuing to figure out how to staff the hospital, right? Nurses are figuring out how to staff the hospital. I mean, it's a war of attrition, and the electric company is figuring out. My guys, I know we got a lot of great listeners that work for the power company, and those guys, they got to figure out how they're going to go handle the power lines, and the sewer company, and the water company, and which I guess is the sewer company. I'm sorry, but like the internet companies, right? Like if they're not out fixing the internet, I'm not doing the show. Business isn't happening. They're all having to find a way to do it, and there are positive tests in all those industries. So I don't think it's awful that they're playing with multiple people with positive tests, that they're saying, okay, we're going to try to set them aside and press on and keep everybody else safe, because that's what the rest of this country has to do. if you're deemed an essential worker. And so, Danny, the scenario you just laid out, I hope that's it, right? Listen, the news is today, Patrick Mahomes is going to play. Wouldn't you figure that 1 year we can't go to the American Century Championship? What a wonderful event, and I hope it goes great. They're going to do it without fans, and I'm going to watch every freaking hole that is on TV if they have that, because it's a beautiful backdrop, and I'm going to really miss it. And I'm going to tell you what, you want to talk about learning some lessons? There are times that I'm like, oh, my God, that trip out there is such a pain in the ass. I can't believe. And I'm sitting here going, you whiny fat pig. Like, you bitched about dragging your ass to Tahoe. And every time you get there, you're like, this is maybe the most beautiful place on earth. This is great being here.
I will never bitch. I sat in a hotel room one time when you said, I've had enough of this. I don't want to go out on the boat today. I'm flying out. You changed your mind, but remember that?
Yes, I do. I do.
I don't want to go out on the boat.
I'm not bitching
going
again.
home.
I'm not bitching again. I would love to make the 13 hours, is about what it takes from my door to the door of the hotel. I would love to make the 13 hours to go out to Tahoe. And you know what? They're going to play that tournament, and I'm going to try to watch it, and I'm going to watch every hole of it, and I'm going to enjoy it, and I'm going to enjoy the backdrop. I'm going to think of the great memories I've had out there, all the great time here at 810, going out there, and how blessed I've been to have that opportunity. And I'm also going to sit there and be like, oh, my God, Patrick Mahomes, who's going to play in it for the first time, do not be out in some bar with 50 celebrities and get sick.
Right. Yes, exactly. And the thing is, you're going to end up being compelled to do it. That's the issue. If you could just, the ship sailed. I'll repeat it again. Let's just do better going forward. I know many of you have. I'm not talking to you. Just as a collective, we have not done well. We have not made a passing grade this time around.
All right, we'll take a break, come back, talk some baseball, maybe some more football. We'll see where Danny wants to be unleashed. That's next. Danny Clinkscale with us, brought to you by our friends at Easton Roofing. They are hiring right now. Great locally owned and operated company. Generous sign-on bonus for qualified candidates. If you have no experience or little experience, they'll pay you to train and learn the business. Profit sharing available, health insurance, 401k match, company vehicle, tools, guaranteed year-round work. There's an additional bonus for veterans as well. That's with Easton Roofing at 913-257-5426, online at eastonroofing.com.
More of Danny's Reasonably Irreverent podcast after this.
We're here with Joe Spiker, the CEO and president of Easton Roofing. And, Joe, you had a great year in 2019, a record year. 2020 comes, things are moving smoothly along, and then the coronavirus comes. But your company seemed to be very ready, very proactive, and very ready to serve your customers well.
Yeah, we adopted social distancing very early before the cities even put out the notices. And we started working from home. We are largely cloud-based as a company, so that transition was easy. Our technicians are wearing masks and gloves, and salespeople are not meeting with homeowners. We're doing everything digitally and doing everything we can to do our part to get over this as quickly as possible.
So for any needs that people have right now, what's the best way to get in touch with you?
Well, you can always call us, 913-257-5426. But the best way is to go to eastonroofing.com, put your information in, and we'll give you a call.
Easton Roofing. Integrity matters.
John Sunvold, 59 today. Among Missouri high school products, who has the most career NBA points? I think he's just over 14,000.
I asked Jed, I said Bradley Beal or Mike Miller.
Hey, Soren, did you know that it's Missouri high school products, not players from the University of Missouri, just so we're clear?
Yeah, by the way, I talked to him. I said, I wonder if Kareem or Brandon Rush, and he goes, well, it wouldn't be Brandon Rush. He didn't go to Mizzou. I said, it's Missouri high school players, Jed.
And I said, irrelevant. It's Friday in my world.
He said, I'm not doing anything back here. You know how Jed is. Always a upbeat guy.
I'm just chilling. All good.
So I'm going to go Bradley Beal or Mike Miller.
That is not correct. Danny, care to posit I guess?
Missouri high school.
Tyler Hansbrough wasn't around long enough to.
Played. It's not Kareem. It's not your guy Tyronn Lue, is it?
It is not.
Steepo?
Nope.
Anthony Peeler?
Nope. KU.
Ryan Robertson?
Went to McKinley High School in St. Louis. Joe White.
Oh, wow. I don't know why I
thought that.
I don't know why I thought JoJo White was from Texas. Why did that stick in my head?
No, because you're dumb.
Born in St. Louis,
possible.
went to high school in McKinley.
No, that's not why. I just thought that'd be a funny line. Joe's Kansas City Barbecue, what we were playing for. The Kansas City Barbecue Store is where you should be getting this weekend. Go to thekansascitybbqstore.com. By the way, curbside is available there. They've got everything you need, whether you're a beginner or an expert. They will make you a barbecue legend. Everything from the world's biggest and best inventory of grills, smokers, sauces, seasonings, marinades, fuels, utensils, accessories. They've even got the meat now, for crying out loud. Just off I-35 at 119th and Strangline Road. Find them online at thekansascitybbqstore.com. Danny, what do you think the baseball is going to look like? What's going to be different in the 60 games and the beyond? I mean, we know the runner on second, that's going to look different. But like, do you think we're going to see no real starting pitcher, only true aces? And this is where I've kind of thought we were going to, having 4 or 5 guys that are 3-inning guys, maybe 1 or 2 guys that are 6 to 8-inning guys, and then a bunch of, 5-out guys. Is that what we're going to do? Or are we going to graduate to that? What do you think is going to be different?
Well, I think at the outset you might really see that because the roster's bigger. What is it, 2 weeks with 30? Is that right? Then 2 weeks with 27, then on to 26. And 26 still is 1 extra than you used to have. So, yeah, I think you'll probably see a little bit more of that. I think that even the starting pitchers who are going out there will go more full force. Now, I have heard a lot of people talk about the fact that high-velocity pitchers, particularly relief pitchers who rely on a lot of adrenaline, are going to be hurt by pitching in a sterile environment. I think that's certainly possible.
That'll be interesting to watch.
So I don't think it's going to be as different, at least at the outset, than we think. But, there's your opportunity, 2 weeks to just throw a slew of arms out there if you have them and see if that works, especially if you are a team that isn't loaded with starting pitching, which is usually the very, richest teams will have 3 stud starters. So, and those guys can really think of the fact that they're not going to pitch that much. So that might help the very best pitchers, starting pitchers, with the thought in the back of their mind that they're going to make 12 starts, period.
Is that what it is? Yeah. I mean, it's 60 games in 63 days, right?
Right, so 12 probably at the most. They may be less than that because it's so truncated a schedule. But, it's somewhere in that area anyway. Well, I don't have to worry about it. And there won't be fatigue. Every pitcher is going to deal with that. You should be in really good shape. I don't know if you are, but you should be. You got no excuse. What else you get to do? So I think that the very best pitchers, I would think, would be at a real advantage in that situation. And I do think, it's really hard to hit a baseball, and maybe they will, have relievers who are down a tick or a mile per hour or so because of no adrenaline. But, it can't be as laser focused in your mind when you're walking out there and it seems like spring training at the bat. I think pitching's going to maybe dominate a little bit. That would be my initial guess, that pitching has the advantage over hitting for a variety of reasons, but including the focus reason. Pitcher can just focus on the glove and his stuff and everything else and fire away. Batter, it's hard, man. It's hard to hit, and if you're not like super amped up because hey, big situation, crowd's on its feet, and it's nothing. I don't know. It would seem to me like that certainly wouldn't help.
No, I'm with you, and it does. Getting timing down, and you're not going to play spring training games, right? You're just going to have inter squad games. I mean, what are we going to get? 2 weeks of workouts and 5 days of inter squad games?
Right, something like that. And this is, of course, all predicated on the fact that we play. So,
right.
At least it's close enough. That's close enough that I think it's virtually certain they're going to start. Whether they're going to finish or not, that's certainly an open question.
No, what percentage chance would you put it at?
It's dropping by the day. start to finish, uninterrupted through the World Series, I guess I'll go right now about 68%, and maybe a couple of weeks ago I would have said 85%. I hope that, that's probably a little pessimistic, I guess, but I don't know. It just depends on the stomach for these teams, players, franchises to just not finally throw up their hands and say, this just isn't worth it. We're already seeing a significant amount of players opt out before it even starts.
Yeah.
What are you going to do if you're, a significant player and you're 30?
Are you talking about the NBA or are you talking about baseball?
Well, baseball too. We've seen a reasonable amount of players have said they are not going to play. 10 or so, I think.
Are we at that high?
I think
people.
I don't know. But anyway, it's a few, and I think it will only grow. And what happens if you're 30 games in and you're not making the playoffs? I'm going home. I can see that. I can totally see that happening.
We played a clip yesterday. Jerry Hairston, Jr., the former major leaguer, was the cut began him talking about all the reasons why he was feeling good about it. He was being optimistic about things. And then at the end he goes, about 75%. I'm like, what?
Yeah, you just painted.
He's playing it up to 75.
Yeah, but he's Santa Claus compared to Buster Olney's, what, 5%?
Yeah.
Buster Olney said 5%, really?
On finishing the season,
and
wasn't that what he said?
I think he said 5% that they'd play and 0% that they'd finish it. That's what I thought it was.
Wow. I'm not there yet, but I tell you, with each passing day and with each record set, and I can you imagine that here come the imprimatas again. Stay at home, wear a mask, do this. It's the 4th of July weekend. You think we're going to have a good weekend? I don't think so.
Well, I think that's why a lot of places are shutting down the bars.
Right. Douglas County did it, where Lawrence is, obviously. And you bought it. It's sold to you. You had your chance. Now your bars aren't open.
Yeah.
The 4th of July is an outdoor grilling, touchy-feely activity, and people definitely also have a false sense of security when they're outdoors. And clearly, the places where we've seen the hugest spikes since Memorial Day are warm weather climates where people are outside, probably feeling, hey, what can happen? We're outside; it's cool. And then.
Yeah.
It is kind of like when you were a kid, the first time your parents gave you the responsibility. Okay, here you go. And you screwed it up. You're like, all right, we're taking it back.
That's right.
That's exactly what it feels like. We're all 15 years
before.
old.
Exactly. Yeah. You had your chance.
Yep.
Back to your bedroom. Play video games all day. That's what you get.
Well, I think the frustrating part is that we were at a place where if you were responsible, you could continue to be responsible and feel fairly comfortable that you're not going to get it. But and I don't know, we tend to always lag behind, and so we may still have time in this town to save that. But Florida, Texas, Arizona, they are speeding towards New York. That's what they're going to be. Now the good news is we know more about it. There aren't the older people and people at risk are much less likely to have been out. But once you get to where 20%. It gets real hard just to go to the grocery store. It gets real hard to staff the grocery store.
Oh, yeah, and also they have the advantage of the fact that in places like Massachusetts and New York, they got slammed. Maybe they didn't do things right at the out, but they took it seriously after that, and now they are moving on much better than other parts of the country. So you have your evidence right there. Do it right, and you can come out on the other end. Maybe it takes too long. It's painful. Maybe our circumstances are different. But you're talking about Texas and Florida. These are big population states. They're not rural states. Anyway, let's
29 million in Texas, 21 million in Florida.
It isn't just population density that's causing this problem right now.
No, but those are population dense states.
But I'm saying there's a map out that has it's color coded by percentage of increase over the previous week, and the darkest red is 50%. Guess who's 50% today? Kansas.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
Or I guess maybe it was yesterday. I saw this. Dark red, Kansas.
Not good. Not good. Do better.
No.
That's my upbeat.
Do better.
Note. Do
I'm
better.
with you. Do better.
Do better.
I want to ask you a golf question when we come back.
Love that,
Danny. I want to know if Bryce DeChambeau is the future of golf. If that's where the sport is heading. We'll talk about that with Danny Clinkscale next here in the program.
More of Danny's Reasonably Irreverent podcast after this.
We're here with Joe Spiker, the CEO and president of Easton Roofing. What's the difference at this time of year as we head toward the warmer months for homeowners, and what should they be looking at, coronavirus or not?
If you didn't do a good job of home maintenance in the fall, cleaning your gutters out, when we get the spring rains, that can be a real problem. So you want to make sure that you've done a good job on your home maintenance, cleaning your gutters out. We can help with that. I always tell people they never get their roof inspected. They get their furnace inspected once a year, but they never get their roof inspected. And we do the inspection on your roof for free. So you call, you make an appointment, and we'll show up, do the inspection. It's free. You should have your roof looked at once a year. Take advantage of us. And most likely you're fine. And if there's a problem, hopefully we can get out in front of it and save you money in the end.
So for any needs that people have right now, what's the best way to get in touch with you?
Well, you can always call us, 913-257-5426. But the best way is to go to eastonroofing.com, put your information in, and we'll give you a call.
Easton Roofing. Integrity matters.
You're listening to the program on Sports Radio 810 WHB. It's a little segment we call Danny Unleashed. It's brought to you by Easton Roofing. Commercial, residential, locally owned and operated. That's Easton Roofing. Call 913-257-5426. Check out their Google reviews online. Angie's List Super Service Award winner. 4 straight years voted best of houses. They do repairs. You can get a free estimate, a free inspection right now by calling 913-257-5426. See them online at eastonroofing.com. And this great locally owned and operated company, one of the fastest growing in Kansas City, is hiring. So if you're already a qualified candidate, they have generous sign-on bonuses. They're paying you to learn if you have little or no experience. Profit sharing, health insurance, 401k match, year-round work. It is Easton Roofing, 913-257-5426 online at eastonroofing.com. And Danny, Bryce DeChambeau. Put on 40 pounds.
Are you tight with Bryson? So you just call him Bryce? Bryce is my man.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
No, I just don't even really know who he is,
No,
to be honest with you.
Yeah,
because I don't watch a lot of golf, but I did see this. I've seen all the conversation about him, so I started doing a little research on him. And to me, he seems like, they're talking about, it's, he does all this weight gain and all this. Listen, the bottom line, what he's doing is strength training to hit the ball harder, right? And I've always kind of wondered when the long drive guys, there's going to be a long drive guy who could actually have the touch around the greens and all that kind of stuff, and would that be where the future would go? Well, Tiger Woods got into the weightlifting, and by the way, it wrecked his body.
That's right.
And so I think we may see, I think this might be the new norm in golf. And they're not going to have as long of careers because it will tear your body down. But their highs might be higher. And because he's got I saw coming into this tournament, 3 of the 4 longest drives.
Yeah, he's number one in driving. He's hitting the ball straight, too.
Yeah.
A few of the things that you mentioned are what's at play. Every single golfer who has tried to really bulk up, to really look like a linebacker or whatever, has gotten hurt. And Jason Day did it. He was the number 1 player in the world. Tiger did it. A couple other guys have done it in the past. The game is hard on your back and your joints anyway. It's a high practice game. People think, golf. I mean, these guys hit balls endlessly. And if you're doing that, and also he put on the weight remarkably fast. Now he's a total nerd as far as trying to find every advantage, and he's a scientist. And one short answer is I hope he's not the future of golf, because the guy's the slowest player on tour. Last year, famously, he took 2 minutes and 9 seconds to hit a putt. A putt, which he missed, by the way. It was a 9-foot putt. So I think that there are people who are going to try this, but I think strength training for golf is what is the best thing for you. I think a Dustin Johnson type of physicality is more what you're looking for golf than to get, beefcake Bryson, which is what they're calling him, because he wants to. He has put this weight on. He was 210 like 8 months ago, and he's borderline 270 now. But he's killing it. He hits it straight, too. So in the short term, it's working. He has 6 top 10s in a row. A lot of it's built on his driving. He's cutting corners that nobody's thought about. So if somebody does game, golf is a game you can play for a long time. If somebody wants to just ditch that and become the number 1 player in the world like Jason Day did, now he was good before he really bulked up, and then he bulked up and he started to get hurt all the time. And Tiger did that too. And now the Tiger we see is the Tiger we should have had all along in body type. So I would say that strength training for golf is probably in the long term more effective than what DeChambeau's doing, but you can't argue with the short-term results. He's been remarkable, and he's on the leaderboard again today.
I mean, all those guys in long drive are big power lifting guys. I mean,
But they swing completely differently. There have been guys who have been long drivers and, gone on to the PGA Tour. They just changed the way they play. And you can't swing the way you do in a long drive competition. But yes, you watch one of those things, which I don't. But glimpses of it. They're all big guys. They're all big, right? Like you said, big shoulders, big guys. But they're swinging totally for distance. And DeChambeau right now is combining the two. So can't argue with it in the short term.
They do test for steroids in golf, right?
Yes, they do.
Okay. I think one thing we might see is they're all going to be tall, right? The leverage, the length, that helps you drive the ball. It gives you more club head speed. The further out you are from where it is.
The thing that's remarkable, though, is the younger players have learned to hit it far first. Justin Thomas is one of the longest drivers on the tour. He's 5'10", 160. I mean, it's
really?
Just remarkable what they can do. Because when I was young, they said learn to hit it straight, then learn to hit it longer. Now they just hit it as far as they can and then try to hit it straight.
Yeah. Danny, great stuff. Stay safe this weekend, and we will talk with you again next week.
Thank you very much.
Danny Clinkscale. Get more of his work at DannyClinkscale.com. Brought to you by Easton Roofing.
This podcast was made possible by our great sponsors like Easton Roofing, the presenting sponsor of Kansas City Profiles at the Danny Clinkscale Reasonably Irreverent podcast. Easton Roofing, where integrity matters. We hope you enjoyed the latest Danny Clinkscale Reasonably Irreverent podcast. Come back soon for something fresh and new.